Anything that could be a further
Hashtag Declassify. I deserve to know the truth hidden in the 28 classified pages of the 9/11 report. That's the meme of the new social media campaign started by Ron Paul. He's asking people to do their own YouTube videos and social media campaigns to put this out there. Hashtag Declassify and demand these documents be released at last. Certainly we should. It's a half measure. There's so much more to 9/11, and in some ways it's like asking psychopaths to please give me a handout, a little pat on the head with the truth from a government that has been so secretive and so intent on driving home the message of fear to keep control over this country and to keep us in the dark about the real mechanisms of politics on this globe. There's so much more. 9/11 truthers have been looking into this for years, and the case could be solved if there is an honest inkling of anyone in the government. But this is certainly a start. We do need to know. The families of 9/11 victim members in particular need to know, because they've been trying to file lawsuits against the Saudi royal family for their role in financing Al-Qaeda, which should be prosecuted. Still not the full story, but they've been blocked years ago by the Justice Department, who won't let them sue Saudi Arabia because they have some kind of ill-gotten immunity from prosecution, even though everyone knows about their role in 9/11. The families wanted to sue them, but they've been blocked in part because of this document. Now, Ron Paul was talking with other members of Congress about this document from the joint inquiry into intelligence community activities before and after the terrorist attacks of 2001. This is the first 9/11 investigation, not the dog and pony show that you heard about led by Lee Hamilton and Thomas Kean, but the one led by Senator Bob Graham, the former senator from Florida. And Ron Paul talks about how Congress members have been allowed to see these documents, but only under extreme circumstances, where they have to go into a room guarded by uniformed officers, where they're watched by an FBI person while they're reading the document to make sure they don't take any notes or pictures or do anything with the documents, because the Bush administration, the Bush family, don't want it released. It's not a national security issue, so say these Congress people, but it would be embarrassing to the Bush family if it were revealed. And what would be revealed? Obviously, this has a lot to do with their extensive ties with the bin Laden family, something that's been reported on, though which hasn't been fully fleshed out in the open, hasn't been fully dealt with. What we do know about this redacted, heavily redacted inquiry into 9/11 is exactly what it says in the title, the intelligence community activities. We know that 9/11 had so much to do with the intelligence community intermingling, commingling, the common circles between the U.S., the U.K., Israel, and Saudi Arabia, who are all in bed together, have geopolitical intentions and co-strategies, have interest in oil and other assets, and who are ultimately responsible for this conspiracy. And of course, it is a conspiracy. It's a crime. That's why we need to know. Now, here's Ron Paul briefly talking about aspects of this.
That all Saudi Arabians had already left town. They got on their private jets, and they were shooed out of town and flown back home and allowed to go back home. And many of those individuals that went back to Saudi Arabia, guess what? Their last name had the name of bin Laden.
Exactly. So even Congress wasn't allowed to fly in the days after 9/11, but the bin Laden family was ushered out, allowed to fly out on their private planes, escorted out of the country. Isn't that rich? Well, it has a lot to do with the extensive ties between the Bush family and the bin Laden family, who are indeed both members of the Carlyle Group, and who were, in actuality, as reported, meeting on the morning of 9/11 together. George H.W. Bush, Senior Bush, was meeting with Osama bin Laden's brother, Shafiq bin Laden, over their mutual interest in the Carlyle Group, the international finance firm. And these families have extensive ties. They've been doing business for decades in oil, also in construction, and various other things that have a lot to do with our current geopolitical agenda. And it's just so absurd, the level of this secrecy. There should be a criminal investigation, not only into the Saudis, but of course into the Bush family themselves. I don't think that's going to happen, but it obviously should happen. Of course we should know the truth. We should storm the Capitol and come with our pitchforks and torches. That's the level we've been at for a long time, and it hasn't happened. 9/11 truth unfortunately fizzled out, in particular with the ushering in of the Obama administration, the agreement behind the scenes to continue the lie. But now here's a new front if you want to put forward the effort to get a little bit more of the 9/11 truth, maybe inspire people to start to ask questions again, questions that will never end. And you'll have to come to your own conclusions, as I have. I deserve to know the truth hidden in the 28 classified pages of the 9/11 report. Hashtag Declassify. I deserve to not be a sheep in this country. I deserve to not be led on by fear and kept in the dark under a national security blanket and told lies about why we're constantly at war, about why our sons and daughters and brothers and friends and fellow countrymen have to go die in meaningless made-up wars with shadowy false enemies over in the Middle East for an agenda that has nothing to do with ordinary people, has everything to do with the power of the secret government and those who stand to gain personally and the number of corporations invested in this.